To you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. K-Man Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The K-Man Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Wednesday, the 9th day of October 2019. I trust that everyone had a peaceful, enjoyable evening and that you're all raring to go today. Some of you probably have already started your work day. Many of you are on the roads of the Cayman Islands now, heading to your work or dropping your children off to school or heading to appointment or something. So if you're a pedestrian, if you're a cyclist, if you're operating any type of vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to be extremely cautious. Kindly ensure that you observe the rules of the road, follow the instructions of those authorized persons who are on the road, like police officers who are giving you directions in terms of traffic flow. And always remember that the life you save may be your own. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the very busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. Again, this morning, it is that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on a toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, then email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record at candw.ky. WhatsApp us on 925-3261. Lord Graham, if you're listening, that other number that I was telling you about, 925-3261, where you can send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. We would encourage you to follow us on YouTube this morning because we have been experiencing some technical difficulties on radio 89.9. The reception that you may be receiving is intermittent. In some areas, you will find that you're hearing the transmission quite clearly, and then all of a sudden it will go off and you hear those buzzing sounds. Just wait and then it'll come back in. But we know that it is extremely difficult and annoying when the station keeps going in and out, but I can confidently assure you that we are working on the issue to have it resolved, because we know that the majority of Caymanians, the majority of the residents in the Cayman Islands, enjoy listening to Radio Cayman. So that problem is being worked on. We understand that the sister islands, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, that they may not be getting us at all on radio as well. But remember, I believe you can still tune into Breeze 105.3 FM. For Cayman Brac, it would be 91.9 for Cayman Brac as well. But for those of you who can follow us on YouTube, remember, you do that simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. If you do that, this morning, you download the app, and you can follow us there. Quite clear as well, very, very clear. I do that sometimes when I'm trying to watch TV, listen to Radio Cayman, and use the internet all at the same time. I do that as well. Later this morning, we're going to have in the studio with us Mr. Orrett Bush, who is the former Cayman Islands representative in the UK. He headed up the London office there. He is now the chief officer in the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Affairs. He will be with us after the 8 o'clock news. I have also been in contact with Dr. Steve MacPhail, and while I did try to answer a question that one of our listeners sent to me in relation to wanting to know whether or not an individual citizen can take someone to court for littering. And I have spoken to Dr. Steve MacPhail this morning, and when he gets into his office, we will be contacting him, and we will be hearing from a qualified person as to how prosecutions can be effected as well. So all of those good things we will have going with you this morning. Certainly looking forward to talking to Mr. Orrett Bush after spending several years in the UK. And of course, we have a new representative over there now, Mr. Andre Ebanks, and he has been quite busy. As you know, the party conferences have been going on, and the Conservative Party conference, I believe that may have been sometime last week as well. I believe he attended that. So lots to talk about, including the fact what's in the news now, about the register of I'm forgetting the name of it, but beneficial register, and having a public registry of beneficial owners of companies, that the Cayman Islands will be doing that. But again, the caveat is there, and I believe the Premier is certainly right in the position, and the financial industry in the position that they have taken, that we will do it when the European Union and all other countries implement theirs at the same time. We will do it. We should not be used as a guinea pig. We should not be putting ourselves at a disadvantage while others are being able to operate on one plane and we operate on another, which could possibly be to the detriment of the Cayman Islands as well. So I'm sure Mr. Orrett Bush will certainly be competent to talk about that as well. Also, the party conferences, he has attended a few of those in his time in the United Kingdom as well. All of that will take place after the 8 o'clock news, but we will be contacting Dr. Steve MacPhail when we take our commercial break at 7:45. We will contact Dr. Steve MacPhail at that time. Hopefully, he will be in his office. One of our listeners had some comments in relation to the Cayman Compass, and they have written and said the new ? Compass yesterday seems to be more expensive, 75 cents for less paper. They point out that given its historic importance to Cayman, it is sad that the name was changed from the Caymanian Compass. But then, reverting to standard English was culturally significant, so kudos for that. Sad that they did not return the handle to people's names, referring to Dr. Krishna Mani, our beloved ophthalmologist, as Mani is jarring, to say the least. Thankfully, today's edition had a bit more, and the articles on His Excellency the Governor and several others made for good reading. Maybe there was not enough space, but referring to our Commissioner of Police as COP made me think that he was someone in prison instead of getting a new 4-year contract. He deserves our thanks and praise. Happy we can read online and always get the free paper, the Caymanian Times, which in my opinion is excellent. Now if we could only get back Cayman 27, sorry, but GIS TV teaming up with the Compass is not the answer for a free local TV program. So that was one of our listeners' viewpoints in relation to the Compass, in relation to the joint venture that they have with government TV, but they don't feel that that is enough. And again, I believe that it is important for the government to put some resources there. They certainly do have people with experience there, like Miss Donna Bush, who's a newscaster herself, a news person. And let's tidy up government TV. Let's make it into a informative television station. Give them the independence that they require, that they need, so that there is no skepticism by the general public that what any things, news, stories that are being produced, that they're not government driven. Give them that independence. If you want to create something similar to what they have in the UK with the BBC. But with all of the money floating around, let's put some more money into government TV to make it a true station for the people of the Cayman Islands, and not necessarily rely on the private sector, because we do know what the challenges are for the private sector in terms of investment and seeking a return on investment. The return on investment for the government would be good government and an informed populace. That would be the return on investment if the government were to put some more money into government TV as well. Time to take a commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the historical vignette series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
While the Cayman Islands has long been a maritime abode, it was under Commissioner Alan Cardinal that the pastime of yachting or sailing would come to pass. Commissioner Cardinal started his post in the Cayman Islands on February 14, 1934. In January 1935, the first Cayman Islands Regatta was held in Georgetown, with boats participating from Cayman Brac. Commissioner Cardinal had foreseen that the islands were capable of showcasing their excellent shipbuilding and sailing talents in organized competition. as a means to attract international investors with the assistance of one Edmund S. Parsons and Lieutenant Colonel B.P. Dobson, Commissioner Cardinal would form the Cayman Islands Yacht Club. In a sign of genius, the Yacht Club was also used to reform the local Boy Scouts, but as Sea Scouts serving in Georgetown and West Bay. By 1937, the Cayman Islands Yacht Club boasted 134 members, with 150 Boy Scouts and Cubs.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
Congratulations, I hear the family is expanding.
Yes, our family is growing bigger, but I don't know how we're going to get around. Our old car just doesn't have enough room.
You should head over to Vamp Motors and ask about the Toyota Rush. It's a 7-seater SUV with lots of room and safety features, and it's on sale for just $21,900.
Rush in to Vamp Motors for the best deal of the year on the Toyota Rush SUV. Save up to $2,600 with Vamp cashback and the Toyota factory rebate going on right now. Fuel efficient, stylish, roomy, and loaded with safety features. The Rush is the perfect SUV for you and your family, starting from just $21,900. Visit Vamp Motors and drive your deal home today while stock lasts.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
2019 marks 100 years of junior achievement worldwide. Junior achievement in Cayman is now 29 years old. To celebrate and support this milestone, help Junior Achievement Cayman to continue our work, guiding next generation Cayman to new horizons in life and business. Get your ticket and enter to win an exclusive trip Namibia, known as a smile on the face of Africa, offering a unique blend of amazing desert scenes, exquisite wildlife, and fascinating tribal cultures.
Get an adventure of a lifetime while supporting Junior Achievement.
Purchase your ticket and stand a chance to win an exclusive all-inclusive 16-day tour to Namibia for 2 persons. Namibia can be reached from the Cayman Islands with Delta Airlines flights via Atlanta and Johannesburg. Experience the astounding and desolate dunescapes of South Namibia, the amazing endangered wildlife of the Etosha National Park. Purchase your ticket today. Junior Achievement, another Rotary Central inspiration project.
Get your Junior Achievement Namibia Safari tickets on eventpro.ky before the drawing on October the 26th.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Again, very quickly, just want to advise people that you may be getting intermittent broadcasts from Radio Cayman if you're listening on radio, because we have some technical difficulties, which we're really working hard to have them resolved. We want to apologize for the inconvenience. We encourage those of you who have access to smartphone where you can download an app, then go ahead and follow us on Radio Cayman. You simply subscribe to Radio Cayman live stream on YouTube. If you download the app, then you can listen directly as well for that. We do realize that many of our listeners are elderly persons as well and may not have those features available to them, and I can only say that we're working very hard to resolve the problem. We do have Dr. Steve McField on the line, and Dr. McField, one of our listeners wrote in and wanted to know whether or not an individual citizen can take someone to court for littering. And I just gave as much information as I could, not being a layperson rather than a lawyer. So I have asked you, Dr. McField, to please give us your views on it. Doc, are you there?
I'm here, yes. Mm-hmm.
Morning, Doc. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thanks.
For the record, yes. A private citizen can bring a private prosecution for a person who has been committed an offense. Littering is an offense, and so a private person can bring a prosecution of that litterer. Mm-hmm. It's found in the Criminal Procedure Code. Now, the last revision of the Criminal Procedure Code was 2006.
Uh-huh.
Now, there are several amendments to the Criminal Procedure Code since that. One of the latest amendments is 2018. But those amendments did not amend the section that allows a private person to bring a private prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is found in Section 13 of the Criminal Procedure Code 2006 revision. Like I said, and you can look it up on your computer, and it says that any person conducting a private prosecution may do so in person or may be represented by a legal practitioner instructed by him in that behalf. And then it says criminal prosecutions may be instituted either by the making of a complaint or by the bringing before a magistrate of a person who has been arrested without a warrant.
Uh-huh.
And a person who believes from reasonable and probable cause that an offense has been committed by any person may make a complaint thereof to a justice of the peace. Now, you make the complaint to the justice of the peace, and then a complaint may be in writing, and if made orally, shall be reduced to writing by the justice of the peace. In either case, shall be signed by the complainant and the justice of the peace. Now, the justice of the peace, now it says, a justice of the peace, upon receiving any such complaint, shall, unless such complaint has been laid in the form of a formal charge, under Section 3, draw up or cause to be drawn up, and shall sign a formal charge containing a statement of the offense which the accused is charged.
Mm-hmm.
So you make the complaint to the justice of the peace. You tell him what the offense was committed. The justice of the peace takes that and makes a formal charge, signs it, and you take that to the court, and then you become the prosecutor of that offense. Now that is subject to the powers of the Attorney General.
Okay.
The Attorney General can take over that prosecution if he wants.
Mm-hmm.
and then it says, and then the section before that says, notwithstanding any power conferred upon any person under this section to institute or conduct any criminal proceedings, any such person shall at all times respect thereof be subject to the express directions of the Attorney General, who may in any case himself institute or conduct any criminal prosecution. So the Attorney General has jurisdiction to terminate that prosecution or to take it over and continue it.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it says the Attorney General, is that in the form of the Director of Public Prosecutions, or that is the Attorney General himself or herself?
Well, the Attorney General can direct anyone to do it on his behalf.
Okay.
Like any prosecutor to do it on his behalf, or any private prosecutor to do it on his behalf, because you see people come from England and stuff to do prosecutions, but they're not part of the Attorney General.
Right.
Office, so that they can hire people to do that on their behalf.
Got you. Another question. Sorry.
I did a private prosecution before against a magistrate. I called Magistrate Edwards, who was accused of destroying public property. Remember the place they called Portuguese Point?
Yes.
Where all the judges live. And the commissioner of police at the time wouldn't do anything about it, and I brought a private prosecution against him. And it prevented him from going to sit on the bench, and of course they had to get Mr. Ruben Alberga, to go between us, and because he had held me in contempt of court and charged me $50 because I wouldn't sit down and shut up after I was making a bail application. He didn't want to hear me anymore. And then when he withdrew the contempt against me, I withdrew against him.
Okay.
So there's precedent for that already, and the person who I made a complaint to and dropped the charge was Mr. Cradock Ebanks.
Okay. Very, very good historical point. Very quickly, because the news, but I notice in some jurisdictions, like for instance in Trinidad, you still have members of the police force or the police department who are in court and serve as prosecutors. We no longer see that in the Cayman Islands. There were days when people like Mr. Cardiff Solomon, Sambula were prosecutors, and they used the police as prosecutors. We no longer do that, but I still see in some countries that we consider to be more advanced than us, politically, that they're doing it.
We still have that. It says provided that where proceedings are instituted by a police officer or other public officer acting in the course of his duty as such, a formal charge or not conformity with the court and duly signed by such officer may be presented to the justice of the peace and shall, for the purpose of this, could be deemed to be a complete and shall be signed. So the police officer still has the right, under the criminal procedure code, the Attorney General still has the right to allow police officers to
prosecute,
to conduct prosecutions in court.
Wow. Okay.
But they have not been doing it now, because what they have been doing is that since we have the DPP department, they send all the prosecutions there. Okay. There's still place for a police officer to conduct prosecutions on behalf of the Attorney General, the Crown.
Okay. Doc, I want to thank you very much for that. You enjoy your day, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, please stay tuned for The Record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news, and by then, I believe we will have Mr. Eric Bush in the studio with us as well.
Thank you, Mr. Connor, and studio time now by Price Right is 8:01.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by Sagicor. Let us put a smile on your face. Call 949-8211.
Access and information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Cayman Finance throws its support behind the government after a midnight announcement that Cayman intends to introduce a public register of beneficial ownership. Cayman Finance says it supports the decision by the government to introduce a public register in line with evolving global standards and practices within a time frame that aligns with UK legislation and the European Union's fifth anti-money laundering directive. The business organization says in a written statement, quote, Cayman's position as a premier global financial hub is based in part on the industry's longstanding commitment to the highest global standards for transparency and cross-border cooperation with tax and law enforcement authorities. Cayman Finance says that commitment has contributed significantly to Cayman achieving the same OECD rating for transparency as countries like the United Kingdom, the United States, Germany, Canada, and Australia. The Premier's early morning statement said the decision to implement a public register of beneficial ownership comes after the announcement of the same made earlier this year by British Crown dependencies. In other news, the Minister for Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, the Honourable Joey Hew, was the keynote speaker at the Mayor Forum on Friday, September 27th. The forum conferences take place around the world and are regarded as highly influential for key players in the maritime and shipping industries. They host prestigious discussions and debates relating to current and future issues pertaining to the sector. The theme for the Super Yacht Europe 2019 conference held in Monaco was What's Next in Yachting?
Everyone from yacht owners to maritime lawyers, marine equipment manufacturers, and industry regulators is able to voice an opinion.
In his speech, Minister Hew noted that Cayman is continually updating legislation and introducing innovations which enhance safety. These also help make the industry sustainable by promoting improvements such as helping prevent pollution. And 4 local honorees are recognized Saturday night at the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame. More from CIG TV's Donna Bush.
Dr. Carrie Manfrino, who founded the Caribbean Central Marine Institute on Little Cayman back in 1998, dedicating over 20 years to marine research in the Cayman Islands, is an honoree. She developed the organization with a strong focus on protecting the biodiversity of coral reefs throughout research, education, and conservation. Another honoree is Dr. Croy McCoy, who joined his parents and brothers in Little Cayman to expand and develop the fishing and diving lodge that his parents had established back in 1983. Croy then became a certified diver at 15 years old and a dive master in 1985. With over 4 decades diving in the Cayman Islands, Croy witnessed many changes on his native reefs. These changes further prompted his enthusiasm to try and take action. And together with the Department of Environment, Bangor University, and the Darwin Initiative, a project evolved from his passion. Well, Steve Tippett has been a diving professional since 2003, and promoting diving in the Caribbean and Grand Cayman, especially, is something close to Stephen's heart. He has spent a lot of time over the years attending dive shows and technical diving conferences in Europe, highlighting the diving and tourism aspects of Grand Cayman. In 2011, Steve won the prestigious Cedar Stingray Water Sports Employee of the Year Award. And the 2019 Emergent honoree is Nakai Kani, who is a true ambassador of the Cayman Islands. He became a certified dive master back in 2012 and a dive instructor soon after. He's introduced many people to scuba diving and guided hundreds of dives, showing the beautiful underwater world of Grand Cayman. At only 26 years old, this young Caymanian is a certified ocean yacht master, boat captain, and has navigated boats across the Atlantic and Indian Oceans.
Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Jerry Smith. The Kurdish administration in northeastern Syria has called on civilians to defend their territory ahead of an expected Turkish-led assault. People are being urged to mobilise and head to the border to resist the planned offensive, which Turkey says is imminent. It follows President Trump's controversial decision to withdraw US troops from the area. Reports are coming in of a shooting outside a synagogue in the German city of Halle. Police say 2 people were killed and the perpetrators fled by car. People have been told to stay in their homes or take shelter. Zimbabwe has quadrupled the price of electricity at a time when the country is battling its worst economic crisis in more than a decade. This second price hike in recent months has angered Zimbabweans who are already facing lengthy power cuts. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by Sagicor. Let us put a smile on your face. Call 949-8211.
Think about something that makes you happy. Did it make you smile? We know it did, because that's what we do at Sagicor. Put smiles on our clients' faces every day. With a large range of products to cover your family, it's no wonder most locals choose Sagicor for their life insurance needs. Serving the community for over 25 years, let us put a smile on your face. Call your Sagicor advisor today.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
The cruise berthing facility will be paid for by the cruise passengers who use it and not by our people or our government. This is a win for Cayman. Support the port. Support our tourism.
Looking forward, looking bright. Support our port. Support our tourism.
The Weather Report is proudly sponsored by Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadora Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Thinking of decorating your home or your apartment? Then Super Stitch is the place for all your household needs. We have sheets, comforters, bathroom accessories, curtains, and a whole lot more. We are the original curtain store with curtains for every room in the house. Some special now curtains for $10 a panel. Yes, just $10 a panel. Come see us today at Super Stitch. Super Stitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadora Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 84 degrees. Relative humidity is 87%. Barometric pressure 29.90 inches and rising. The wind is east at 5 knots. Overnight low temperature was 81 degrees. Synopsis indicate light to moderate southeasterly winds expected for the next 24 hours as a tropical wave to the west of Cayman continues to move westward. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving west. Now the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the upper 80s. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Pretty much the same for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will fall to the upper 70s. Your winds will be northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. We're presently at a high tide, and the next low tide will be this afternoon at 1:29. High tide again tonight at 7:40, and the sun will set this evening at 6 minutes past 6 and rise tomorrow morning at 6:19. And the outlook is calling for a tropical wave over Hispaniola to move west over the northwest Caribbean by Thursday morning.
Superstitch Sewing and Fabric Center was the proud sponsor of the Weather Report, your one-stop shop for all of your household items, craft items, jewelry, beads, and decorations, and much more. Call Superstitch at 949-2833 or email customer care at superstitch.com.ky.
Thinking of decorating your home or your apartment? Then Super Stitch is the place for all your household needs. We have sheets, comforters, bathroom accessories, curtains, and a whole lot more. We are the original curtain store with curtains for every room in the house. Some special now curtains for $10 a panel. Yes, just $10 a panel. Come see us today at Super Stitch. Super Stitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadora Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger licking good.
As a Caymanian, it's very important to me that projects like this are thought of thoroughly before continuing.
My question is, do we need it? And I've not yet been fully convinced that we need it, nor have I been fully convinced that we don't need it. So
what guarantee do we have that these ships are going to continue to come?
Please make the right decision.
Please don't let the catchy songs overturn you. Please support the referendum. Please ensure that you are supporting sustainable tourism, not just money-making tourism.
If the project plans have changed, even though it might be insignificant on paper, it's going to be significant for the environment.
They need to release official information, official facts.
That's where I am right now. I want to know, I want more information on do we need it.
It's your vote, your future.
So make a decision based on fact.
You deserve the whole truth.
Always separate debris from household garbage after a hurricane hits. Debris includes roofing materials, downed tree branches, and metals. All items of debris must be placed in separate piles to the front of the property or at a side that is easily accessible to collection trucks. Debris must be placed in a location that will not cause obstruction to roadways or come in contact with electrical lines. For more post-hurricane waste management tips, visit the DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look at traffic. Busy traffic on Linford Pearson Highway and coming off of Agnes Way. Traffic on Crew Road, some sections steady, other section busy. Looking towards Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue, traffic flowing moderately. No issues coming from the west before we stop, as traffic is light, as well as on Owen Roberts Drive. From the Butterfield roundabout heading towards the Industrial Park area, moderate flow of traffic. And on Shedden Road, things looking pretty good as traffic flowing nicely. And moderate flow of traffic on Edward Street in front of the Georgetown Post Office. Remember, some cruise ships are in, so please watch out for pedestrians as they make their way across the pedestrian crossings in downtown Georgetown. On Shamrock Road, traffic just past the Chrissy Tomlinson roundabout, flowing moderately. Have some patience, you're going to get there. And that's very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll update you traffic-wise.
You've come to love Subway's Eat Fresh menu. Let them bring it to you and cater your next important meeting or outing. From customized box lunches starting at just $6 to their famous platters, you'll love the taste and the price. Have Subway cater your next staff meeting, boat or beach outing, or birthday party. Their crowd-pleasing sandwich trays will do the trick, like the Fresh Fit platter or maybe the new double meat wrap platter. Subway has a platter to fit everybody's taste. And don't forget to add a cookie platter for dessert. Cater with Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
In recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens presents the Brenda Tibbetts Lund Memorial Walk Run with the locations for your convenience.
On Sunday, October 13th, join a 5K walk run or 10K at the 7 Mile Public Beach. Register online at caymanactive.com for only $25 or at the Pink Shop Elizabethan Square.
The Brenda Tibbetts Lund Memorial Walk Run, October 13th at 7 Mile Public Beach.
Traffic congestion is bad for your mental health, bad for your wallet, and bad for the environment. Alternative commuting habits are the solution. Cycling, walking, busing, or carpooling will help save you money, benefit your health, conserve energy, and help the environment. Do your part. Visit the Ministry Facebook page for details of plans for bicycle lanes, the latest bus schedules, and be an energy advocate.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Again, I want to apologize to those radio listeners who are receiving intermittent reception from Radio Cayman because of some technical difficulties that we're working on. So if you're in some parts of the Cayman Islands, you may find that the station drops out and then comes back again. We apologize for that, working on that. But if you do have the ability to live stream, you can do so. Download the Radio Cayman WhatsApp. Sorry, the app. Download the app for Radio Cayman, and then you can listen without interruption, on there as well. Or you can follow us on YouTube, and that is done simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. As promised, it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me now Mr. Eric Bush, who's the former Cayman Islands representative in the UK. He was the head of the Cayman Islands office in the United Kingdom. He's now the chief officer in the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Affairs. Mr. Bush, good morning, sir. Welcome back to For the Record.
Thank you, Mr. Connor, and thank you to the listening audience for tuning in.
We have several topics that we want to talk about, but first I'd like you to talk about your experience in the UK. You were there for how many years?
3 years. 3 years, yes, sir.
Tell us about about that.
For me personally and for my family, it was a fantastic experience. I think if we had to sum it up in a single word, it would have to be Brexit. Quite simply, my family and I landed in the UK on the 1st of July 2016, exactly a week after the UK had a referendum and voted to leave the EU. And from the time I landed, David Cameron had already resigned, and the Tory party was in the middle of a internal battle of who was going to lead, in which Theresa May won. Then after a few months of sort of settling down and cabinet reshuffle and a Queen's speech, all of this sounds familiar. Things started to settle down and understood what the policies were, and that's when Brexit became Brexit means Brexit, and we continued. In the office itself, we took stock at what we had done in the past, what worked, what didn't work, and had a clear vision of what we wanted to do, and that was to enhance the image of the Cayman Islands, generally in the UK, and specifically target the political side of the UK to start to create and maintain relationships with members of Parliament, with members of the House of Lords, and with ministers. So we set a program of doing that, and I think, as most people would have seen over the last 3 years, we've had an increase in visits by members of Parliament. We've had increased visits by ministers, Lord Ahmed, and of course today now we are receiving a Minister of State for the Ministry of Defence. I believe all of this is evidence of the work that has gone on in the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK over the last 3 years, and in which Andre Ebanks, I'm very happy and proud that he has taken the mantle and will do Cayman proud. That I'm confident about. Yes. It's been a fascinating 3 years, but as I tell everybody who asks, there's no place like home.
So true. We saw quite recently where Mr. Andre Ebanks attended the party conference.
Yes.
As well. Tell us the importance of attending those party conferences, how important it is, and the fact that you don't necessarily attend the party conference of the government that is in power at the time, but you attend all of the party conferences, as many as you can.
The major ones, certainly. And this is something, again, that we started, restarted 3 years ago. when I took the position. The party conferences happen the end of September or late October, and they are organized to not clash with each other. So you have the Liberal Democrats that start off, followed by Labour, followed by the Conservatives. Then you have the Scottish National Party and the DUP, which are the main parties. They're the Greens and others like that, but those are the ones that we have considered attending or attended. What we have done now is created a program of engagement with the Labour Party conference and the Conservative Party conference. What that means is it's always a step approach. So we have an activation, we plan it out 6 months ahead, we have a clear definition of what success looks like. And what it generally means is, can we increase Cayman's profile publicly by doing something at the particular party conference? Now, there's no secret that the current Labour Party and the Labour Party leadership is very hostile to Cayman. I mean, they're very public about it. They use Cayman in their key speeches. They use Cayman in their tweets and on social media, talking about finding this magic money tree, and they're coming to the Cayman Islands and they're going to dig it up. You know, I'm quoting. I'm not I'm not being flagrant at all. So there is a lot of work to be done with the Labour Party conference, as much as we can do, because I can't tell you, Mr. Connor, the amount of meeting requests or opportunities we tried to create to meet with the senior leadership team of the Labour Party conference, and they simply ignored it or denied us. As a point, we applied to have a booth or a stand similar to what we had at the Conservative Party conference, at the Labour Party conference, and they denied us.
Wow.
And I appealed, and the General Secretary of the party wrote and said, no, sorry, we reserve the right and we're not going to have you.
Wow. Now, I've seen recently there has been some minor interaction with Diane Abbott, who seems to be quite influential in the Labour Party. As a matter of fact, during question time, at one point in time, she was at the dispatch box because the Jeremy Corbyn was somewhere else traveling.
It was
and
2 weeks.
Over.
It was during the party conference, actually.
Yes.
And it was more because Boris Johnson is Prime Minister, was not going to be there.
Right.
So it was Dominic Raab, who is the current Foreign Secretary. So yes, Diane Abbott, as the Shadow Home Secretary, made history in being the first black lady to be at the dispatch box during Prime Minister's questions. So that was a proud moment in British politics in the form of breaking barriers and issues like that.
But there, I believe that there may have been some interaction with her. Otherwise,
for Cayman,
yeah, for Cayman, yeah,
absolutely. And this is at the core of our strategy. And I can tell you, I spent a year within Westminster and within the offices there talking about Cayman, and of course the main issue and the main talking points that I was given, that was created, were all about financial services, and it was about it was always defensive. It was always, I would leave a 45-minute meeting after making all of the points, and whilst I felt I made some headway, I would truly be exhausted because it was as if you're going into a meeting that you requested, and you're starting an argument, and it wasn't enjoyable. So during that 6 to 9 months of doing that, and then coming away during Christmas time and reflecting, I said, I can't do this. This is not achieving what we want to achieve, which is to actually enhance the image of Cayman and reach the hearts and minds of people within. So that's when we started to amend our narrative and broaden the scope of the conversation to talk about the history of Cayman, to talk about the culture of Cayman, to talk about more of who we are and what we are, and our links historically to the UK. Okay. And once we started doing that, the conversation changed. The results changed. People were no longer defensive in their posture. They were no longer defensive in their tone and in their speech. They were more engaging. And I found that was really the turning point of Cayman's sort of representation, if you will, in the UK, from just going and focusing on financial services because that is the key issue in the relationship at the moment, versus this is who we are and we're actually a part of the wider British family.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was a fascinating time, and during that, of course, we remembered that we had the 60-year anniversary of the coat of arms in 2018, and of course, earlier this year we celebrated the 60-year anniversary of our first constitution. So we then, in concert with the Cabinet Office and the Office of the Premier, and soon after the creation of the Celebrate Cayman, created an entire program of engagement in the UK of how we can better promote ourselves and our history and culture.
Okay. Now, staying along those lines, some people criticize when we do bring UK parliamentarians to the Cayman Islands to give them some exposure to see what we are like in the Cayman Islands, to actually be on the ground and see what is happening in the Cayman Islands. Right. How useful are those jaunts to the Cayman Islands?
Well, I wouldn't call them jaunts to start off. We need to understand what the reality is. Our current constitutional relationship with the UK means that the UK Parliament is supreme. Mm-hmm. That's just the fact. Whether you like it or not, that the current constitutional relationship, as is and has been since we had the first constitution, and even before when we were constitutionally linked to Jamaica, mm-hmm. is Westminster, and the politicians within Westminster are supreme. We don't have representation in the House of Commons or in the House of Lords, nor do we want it. So it is our responsibility, in my view, and it's government policy, that we engage with said parliamentarians, and the best way I know how to do that is for them to come to the Cayman Islands. As I tell people all the time, I can talk to you for 2 or 3 weeks passionately about the Cayman Islands, but you come for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and then you'll get it. Because it adds more than a two-dimensional conversation. It adds life, it adds breadth, it adds reality to all of the words, even the pictures and the videos that you show them of what a fantastic success story we truly are. And the results of those visits have been, when there are questions or when there are comments in the House of Commons or in the House of Lords, those same individuals now who have come to the Cayman Islands mm-hmm. can stand up and fully represent Cayman, knowing who we are, having visited us, having shaken the hands and talking to our people.
Excellent, excellent. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned. When we return, the conversation with Mr. Orrett Bush will continue.
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Congratulations, I hear the family is expanding.
Yes, our family is growing bigger, but I don't know how we're going to get around. Our old car just doesn't have enough room.
You should head over to Vamp Motors and ask about the Toyota Rush. It's a 7-seater SUV with lots of room and safety features, and it's on sale for just $21,900.
Rush in to Vamp Motors for the best deal of the year on the Toyota Rush SUV. Save up to $2,600 with Vamp cashback and the Toyota factory rebate going on right now. Fuel efficient, stylish, roomy, and loaded with safety features. The Rush is the perfect SUV for you and your family, starting from just $21,900. Visit Vamp Motors and drive your deal home today while stock lasts.
Logic Fiber Internet is the fastest internet on the island, and it's gotten even better because when you sign up now, you get 1 month free. Sounds great, but there's some very real drawbacks. Your kids will never leave. You'll have nothing to complain about. And you can't blame your online gaming stats on anything but skill. Sign up now for Logic Fiber Internet for the fastest and 1 month freest internet on the island. Visit logic.ky to sign up. Terms and conditions apply.
Passion.
Strength.
Heart.
It takes a great deal of effort to be the heart of the community, but that's what we're doing at Compass Media. From October 7th, pick up your copy of the new Cayman Compass. We're sporting a new size and look, but it's what's inside that really counts. We're 100% local. We'll inform, enlighten, and engage you with stories that matter. See why the Cayman Compass is the heart of the community. Available in print and online from Monday the 7th of October.
Think about something that makes you happy. Did it make you smile? We know it did, because that's what we do at Sagicor. Put smiles on our clients' faces every day. With a large range of products to cover your family, it's no wonder most locals choose Sagicor for their life insurance needs. Serving the community for over 25 years. Let us put a smile on your face. Call your Sagicor advisor today.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me Mr. Eric Bush, the former Cayman Islands representative in the UK, now the chief officer in the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Affairs. We're talking about his time in the UK. We're going to switch gears in a moment to talk about the ministry that he heads up as the chief officer. But before we go there, we want to spend a little bit more time talking about Brexit. And there are those in the overseas territories who feel that Brexit may have a profound impact on us here in the overseas territories, while others feel that it may have limited impact as well. There are issues, for instance, like travel to other European Union countries, whether or not travel documents will change, passports will change again as well. Mr. Bush, any comments on those?
Well, certainly, and I think it's factually correct that that Brexit is and will affect the overseas territories in different ways, simply because the overseas territories individually have different relationships with the EU, and that may be caused by geography, that may be caused by trade, that may be caused by politics and over the time. As an example, I think the most affected overseas territory unarguably is Gibraltar. The fact that they have a direct border with Spain, the fact that they have 15,000 frontier workers every day coming in to Gibraltar, leaving Gibraltar for the purpose of working. And this is where we were talking earlier off air about the Irish backstop. The fact that they have the free movement and free trade at the moment now, if there is a hard border, which all countries have that don't have these agreements, it will negatively affect the way in which people move. I mean, we talk about traffic here, but imagine if you had a hard border between, let's say, Boddentown and and Georgetown. You know, those. So that's essentially what we're talking about. Is you're free to move from one area to the other in one day, and the potential could be because of what they're calling a hard Brexit or a no-deal Brexit, that automatically creates the need for a hard border and immigration and custom checks to be carried out to and from the respective country.
Okay, one more question before we go to the ministry. We're seeing an increasing number of Caymanians now taking up residence in the United Kingdom. And I would say the majority, most of them are dual citizens, British Overseas Territory citizens, and British citizens as well. Has that fact in any way changed the approach that the London office has taken in relation to those persons who are residing there? Do you receive any questions from them? Do they seek any assistance, or the mere fact that because they're British citizens as well, they would also have recourse to the services that are offered to British citizens?
Since I was there, we had not witnessed an increase in consular questions or services. I mean, we've always had that service, and specifically by Denison Miller, who is the assistant representative for consular and commercial affairs, and is very competent in that area. I wouldn't say that over the 3 years that I was there that we received an increase in that. Of course, the fact that we are Caymanian means that we are British as well, and that gives us the automatic right to apply for full, if you will, British citizenship. And it's something that I think is evident of the way in which our culture is changing and the world is becoming smaller. So, just because you move to the UK for a couple of years, and I think I'm an example of that, doesn't mean you're going to abandon home. So leaving Cayman for a couple of years because you have the ability and the right to do so, I think in certain circumstances should be encouraged. Because Cayman, as we see it, we're growing. We continue to grow. Over the last 60 years, we've gone from 8,000 to almost 70,000 people now. We are becoming more international, and the more our people have an exposure to more of the world, I think that can only benefit Cayman.
Okay. Switch gears, and we're going to talk about the new ministry of which you're the chief officer.
Yes.
You can again tell our listening and viewing audience that the name of that ministry and the subjects that fall under its portfolio.
I think it has the longest name and it's the smallest ministry, which is interesting. It's the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Affairs. And if I could deal with the last two first, because those are existing entities, if you will, and it's bringing to the forefront and showing the importance of the aviation and maritime industry of the Cayman Islands, specifically the Civil Aviation Authority and their registry, the Air Transport Authority, and also the Maritime Authority of the Cayman Islands. Both entities under the leadership of our own Caymanians, Mr. Joel Walton and Mr. Richard Smith, are great, huge success stories internationally. But from what I have found, and maybe I'm mistaken over, I haven't been here for 3 years now, but we don't know how good they are and how good they represent us internationally. And I think the sort of thinking behind that, and it wasn't my choice, it was the Premier naming the ministry. My belief is that he and his government wanted to give the respect to those entities in bringing their competencies and their name into the forefront of a ministry. Now, taking that on board, as we look to enhance the image of the Cayman Islands globally and increase international trade and inward investment, naturally, I am looking to the successes of both Macy and the Civil Aviation Authority internationally, and seeing what platforms they have and they have created for decades. This isn't something new. So the most public and recent engagement that we've had in this field is Monaco. And this is something that we started 4 shows ago or three years ago. And the most recent now, we saw not just Macy, not just the government, but we saw the private sector. And it wasn't just the law firms. It wasn't just the law firms and the accounting firms. It was development. It was technology. It was a vast array of Cayman's economy. So, and the reason they came is they saw the opportunity of the platform that Macy started, the government continued on, that they now can use to promote Cayman and their services. So, I mean, I think there may be some work to do around letting people know why we're doing this. But from Cayman's point of view, if we're looking to attract inward investment for high net worth individuals, then...
And Monaco has them.
Well, Monaco is the highest concentration of wealth in the world. Yes. That's the truth about it. But there's also similarities in Monaco, in size, in taxation, their relationship with France, our relationship with the UK, who they are in the world. I mean, Monaco is 1% of the size of Cayman. But when you think Monaco, you don't think Monaco in France or Monaco in Europe. You think Monaco, they have their place in the world. So why shouldn't Cayman have that?
Okay.
Why shouldn't we dare to be that?
Okay. When we're going to take a commercial break, when we return, I want you to answer those critics who say, well, why are we going to Monaco when they are our competitors? I believe, or when they appear to be our competitors, and I believe you've touched on that before, but we can address that a little bit more as well. Folks, please stay tuned. Commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue with Mr. Eric Bush.
2019 marks 100 years of junior achievement worldwide. Junior achievement in Cayman is now 29 years old. To celebrate and support this milestone, help Junior Achievement Cayman to continue our work, guiding next generation Cayman to new horizons in life and business. Get your ticket and enter to win an exclusive trip, Namibia, known as a smile on the face of Africa, offering a unique blend of amazing desert scenes, exquisite wildlife, and fascinating tribal cultures.
Get an adventure of a lifetime while supporting Junior Achievement.
Purchase your ticket and stand a chance to win an exclusive all-inclusive 16-day tour to Namibia for 2 persons. Namibia can be reached from the Cayman Islands with Delta Airlines flights via Atlanta and Johannesburg. Experience the astounding and desolate dunescapes of South Namibia, the amazing endangered wildlife of the Etosha National Park. Purchase your ticket today. Junior Achievement, another Rotary Central inspiration project.
Get your Junior Achievement Namibia Safari tickets on eventpro.ky before the drawing on October the 26th.
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
Rising Stars Dance Ministry is proud to present the annual Dance for Christ, Saturday, November 16th at the Church of God Chapel Family Life Center. Featuring visiting U.S. artist Malia Bailey, UCCI Dance Group, Dream Chasers, JJZ Dance Ministry, Dance Unlimited, J Prophet, Famous Cousins, Cernan Biblical, Victory Tabernacle Dance Group, Christ Cathedral Youth Choir. MC for this event will be Cheryl T. and many more local talents. Tickets are only $10 pre-sold, $15 at the gate, and children under 12 are only $5. Tickets are on sale now at Funky Times and Christ Cathedral. Dance for Christ is proudly sponsored by Burger King, Domino's, Wendy's, Link International, Funky Times, and Radio Cayman. This November 16th. Don't miss out on Dance for Christ. Brought to you by the Rising Stars Dance Ministry.
The government claims the cruise berthing facility won't cost us a penny. It will be paid for by the cruise partner who use it, not by our people or our government.
The fact is, you will be paying.
Because government is going to give the consortium development team, led by Royal Caribbean and Carnival, a portion of the cruise revenue that is currently being banked by government. What's more, we will be repaying them
$450 million.
$250 million more
than what the facility even costs.
It's your vote, your future.
So make a decision based on fact.
You deserve the whole truth.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're having a very informative conversation with Mr. Eric Bush, the Chief Officer in the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Activities. We're talking about engaging with other jurisdictions, in particular Monaco. And before we went to the break, wanted to address those people who criticize the fact that we sometimes, to them, it appears as if we're promoting, a competitor. And let's talk about the benefits of engaging with jurisdictions that we have many things in common with.
Sure. Well, I guess to be a bit simplistic about it, it's always good to have friends. And when you're looking at friends, you're new to the school, you look at individuals, or in this context, countries who have similar issues, similar size, similar look, similar feel, and things that you can actually have a conversation about. Last year, when the Premier and Minister Rivers led a delegation to Monaco, we met with the Minister of State, the highest level politician within Monaco. The courtesy call was scheduled to be 20 minutes because it was just meant to be that. But after the pleasantries and we started getting into a conversation, it was at that point that both sides, if I can call it that, Cayman and Monaco, recognized how similar things were. Traffic, environment, waste management, education, all of the domestic issues that any government of the day has to deal with. But it wasn't those issues on a scale of 60 million people. It was on a scale of, for Monaco's context, 35,000 people. So the conversation was not only similar, but it was relevant to each other. So that 20-minute conversation that was scheduled ended up being an hour and a half. And it was at that point, I believe it was at the turning point that we both recognized, government to government, that there was a lot of similarities between the countries, and we could actually learn from each other on that. And the day only got better when the Premier hosted a reception on the Cayman registered yacht for the major stakeholders of Macy. And we had sent an invitation to His Serene Highness Prince Albert II. We were doubtful at that time, if I'm to be truthful, that he was going to attend simply because he had an invitation from China. China was in Monaco promoting themselves. Okay, so we had one of the world's major powers hosting an event of 500 people. Our event was 60 or 80 people, I believe it was. So, we were sort of skeptical that Prince Albert was going to come. But he chose Cayman. Prince Albert chose to attend the Premier's event in Monaco versus the China event. And again, that conversation was meant to be a 5-minute courtesy call. He stayed for 2.5 hours. So I just say all that to say that the relationship is real, and that's why I think once the Premier invited Prince Albert, he accepted. So we're just working out the dates of that. But the reason for that, to answer your question, it's good to have friends. As we Cayman continue to develop and to develop our relationship with the UK, wherever that leads itself, it only does us good to have friends internationally at a government level. The private sector does it all the time, and rightfully so. They link themselves with other firms or consume other firms or are a part. I mean, the big four that we have here, they are a part of a global organization. We can't be a member of the United Nations because we're not independent. But what we can have are friends who are similar to us, similar-minded, that can help us as and when things need, and we can help them.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about the most recent boat show and the activities there. And you spoke earlier about the mixture of the private sector and everything, because sometimes again people feel, the Cayman Islands, they're splashing out for all of these things, and they don't necessarily understand the mechanics of all of it.
Well, this year, as alluded to before, it wasn't just the Maritime Authority showing up. It wasn't even just the government showing up. It was Cayman showing up, and the Premier led a delegation of public and private sector entities. The first part of the show was a private sector sponsored bike ride, and that now was designed to have the effect of Cayman, the Cayman flag, if you will, what I consider a sea of red, traveling in and out of Monaco at the beginning of the Monaco Yacht Show. And what that was 60 riders, all dressed in Cayman jersey with the logos of the 10 companies that sponsored this. And if you don't mind, Mr. Connor, because we wouldn't have had it if I would like to mention those.
Sure.
It is KPMG, EY, Deloitte, PwC, Bodden Legal and Corporate Services, formerly known as Bodden & Bodden, Salt Technologies, Kensington, IRG, Providence Properties, and Christie's International. Without those 10 entities, we would not have had the bike ride. This was not a government-sponsored ride. This was the government, through our activation, we recommended this to happen, and it was the private sector that funded this, and that was what raised the $40,000 that the Premier handed to Prince Albert later that day.
Right.
But what we had are 60 riders, some from Cayman, but most from Monaco and France, that came to ride on behalf of Cayman at the start of the Monaco Yacht Show. So it's 13,000 people attending the show.
Yes.
35,000 people within Monaco, the highest concentration of wealth in the world, and we have 60 flags going in 1 square mile at the beginning of that show. It was a fantastic visual, and it was the talk of the show. So the difference and the growth that we've had from the start is that it's no longer Macy. We are using and giving the respect of the platform that Macy has created over the years. And now the government has shown up with the Premier leading the delegation. And now the private sector has said, well, hold on, we see the great things that you're doing. We see the opportunities. Can we be a part of this? So that's where we are. And we're showing up now as Cayman.
We have about 2 minutes before headline news. During my visit, certainly to Monaco and, even in Saint-Tropez, the whole spectacle of walking, in along the docks and seeing so many boats with Cayman Islands on the back of it makes you really feel proud. Any comments on that?
No, I can't agree more. That's really was the main shocker for me when I went first in 2016 as the Cayman Islands representative to the UK and Europe, is seeing the world's biggest and best luxury yachts in a confined harbour of Monaco, about 700 of them. And these are boats that average between 120 to 400, 600 feet. So you have 700 of them, and 500 of them have the Cayman flag and Georgetown, or one of our 6 locations that we can be named for, Bloody Bay, Rum Point, etc. But the Cayman flag is flying on 500 of them, and I looked around and I said, but why aren't we showing up? I mean, Macy, you've done a fantastic job. Joel, you've done, you and your team, wow. But why aren't we? He said, I agree. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. It's taking advantage of the successes that our people have created internationally and just growing on that.
Excellent. We've reached top of the hour. Headline news. When we return, we will continue the conversation with Mr. Eric Bush about the ministry of which he is now the chief officer. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
There's the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The government has announced today its intention to introduce a public register of beneficial ownership in line with evolving standards and international obligations, such as those reflected in the principles of the European Union's 5th Anti-Money Laundering Directive. Government says this follows the announcement of the same made earlier this year by the British Crown dependencies. In the United Kingdom, MPs will be called to Parliament for a special sitting Saturday in a decisive day for the future Brexit. Parliament will meet on October 19th after a crunch European Union summit, seen as the last chance for the UK and the EU to agree a deal ahead of October 31st, which is the deadline. If a deal is agreed, Boris Johnson will ask MPs to approve it, but if not, a range of options could be presented. The White House has officially refused to cooperate with the impeachment inquiry against U.S. President Donald Trump. A letter sent to Democratic leaders rejected it as, quote, baseless and constitutionally invalid. 3 Democratic-led House committees are investigating Mr. Trump. The inquiry is trying to find out if the president held back aid to Ukraine to push it to investigate Joe Biden, who is running for the Democratic presidential nomination. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Chief Officer and former UK Cayman Islands representative in the UK, Mr. Eric Bush, is in the studio with me. We're going to be talking about the ministry of which he is the chief officer, and that ministry has responsibility for international trade, investment, aviation, and maritime affairs. I just want to say also that our phone lines are open if you have any questions, comments that you may wish to pose to Mr. Eric Bush in relation to the topics that we have been discussing as well. Mr. Bush, back to you and talking about the ministry.
So the fact is that it is a new ministry, and it's a new ministry that's within a current government administration. So it's quite unusual for that to happen. And so when the Premier made the announcement in the Legislative Assembly late last year, it was very interesting and appealing to me, obviously, knowing that I was coming back, and and also the opportunities that could create naturally. You know, as I keep on going back to it, because I believe once you have a sort of turning point birthday, it gives you an opportunity to reflect on where you've been and an opportunity to think where you're going. And the fact that Cayman in its current context this year is celebrating 60 years of our current relationship, whereby we were able to then start to create our own legislation and look to create our own identity. And we've done a fantastic job. we really, really are a great success story. And anybody who disagrees with me, I'm happy to challenge you, because if you look at other parts of the world, we have a lot to be proud of. So to go and understand where we've been in the 60 years now, I think it is our responsibility as Cayman to think, who do we want to be 60 years from now? And in doing so, we need to look internationally. We need to look at what our opportunities are in the context of international trade. We need to look at how Cayman presents itself and how Cayman is perceived internationally. And I think this is the rationale that the Premier and his government used to make the decision to form a new ministry, is that we are 60 years old. We are a fantastic success story, having grown from 8,000 to almost 70,000 people now, and the difficulties that causes. But nonetheless, it is a huge success. Where do we want to be? And Cayman, with the internet, with the increase in transport, needs to look further afield than just, say, Miami, Tampa, or even Houston, which were, and of course Cuba, Jamaica, Honduras, and Belize are sort of natural ports of call that we used 50, 60 years ago. Right now, somebody could be listening to us in China. Somebody can be listening to us in Dubai. That is what technology has the reality that technology has created. The world has become a much smaller place. So we need to recognize that and take stock of where Cayman is in the world, what our global footprint looks like, and how we present ourselves. And once we understand that, then formulate a plan of deciding which direction and where our focus needs to be. And that's what the ministry is focusing on now. We've through a public procurement process, 2 public procurement processes, we have procured a global survey around communications and a global survey around international trade and investment. And the thought behind both of those is, at the end of it, we will have a full understanding or a full map, if you will, of where Cayman shows up, where we're present in the context of financial services, of tourism, and what we are saying about ourselves, what people are saying about us. And then once we have the information, then we can form a strategy to say, this is where we are, this is where we want to go. Let us create that roadmap and work towards that.
How much of this, when it comes to international trade and investments, and more so trade than anything else, some people may say, well, trade, what does the Cayman Islands, have to trade? Well, we're looking at goods and services as well.
Yes.
So people have to understand that it's not just restricted to goods,
right,
but also goods and services. But in the regional context, what are the plans in terms of engaging our regional partners? We see the profound effects of climate change now, for instance. We see where there are opportunities in other jurisdictions within the region for trade, especially for goods, agricultural goods, and all of those things that people are saying that we could be doing, but not necessarily doing. Any plans in those areas?
Absolutely. You would have seen that the Premier led a trade delegation to Jamaica in August, whereby we attended their major agricultural show, followed by a very productive meeting led by the Premier and the Prime Minister of Jamaica, with respective ministers on both sides. There's too many to mention, so no disrespect to anybody. But that, if you will, was the first step of doing just that, of looking closest, who are our closest neighbors, i.e. Jamaica, perhaps Cuba, in the context of hard trade, as I call it, because there are two major different types of trade. Is trade of commodities, trade of actual goods, or trade of services. And Cayman's trade deficit in the form of goods is probably 98, 99%. In other words, we import 99% more than we export. But in the context of services, I would venture to say it's almost flipped. Because the services through our financial services that we export is massive, is huge. As a case in point, I don't know if I've said the statistic on this show, but I'll say it again. In Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, 70% of all companies on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange are Cayman companies. Wow. This is the stock exchange now a month ago that put in an offer to buy the London Stock Exchange. Yes. So we're not talking about a small entity. We are talking about one of, if not the global entity in stocks. And the fact that Cayman shows up 70% of the time in there is a huge statistic for this small island, 100 square miles of 70,000 people. So that is the survey we are doing to get the information, to have a full understanding of where we are, what our successes are. Because as it is now, and because of the business model we have, the government doesn't have a single viewpoint of this. I mean, of course, SEMA has a lot of it, but a lot of it is also held in the individual firms and corporate service organizations. So what we're trying to do now is have a full understanding of where Cayman shows up and what our international trade and international footprint looks like throughout the world. And then once we have that, design a strategy around enhancing that, maintaining that.
And that is being done in concert with the private sector?
Well, I will say
more of a government initiative.
No, well, it's government procured, but yes, KPMG Cayman in partnership with KPMG Singapore won that tender, and now we are progressing with the works.
Excellent. Ms. Susan, we're going to take a little early commercial break now. When we return, the conversation will continue with Mr. Eric Bush. So please stay tuned.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
In recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens presents the Brenda Tibbetts Lund Memorial Walk Run with locations for your convenience.
On Sunday, October 13th, join a 5K walk run or 10K at the 7 Mile Public Beach. Register online at caymanactive.com for only $25 or at the Pink Shop, Elizabethan Square.
The Brenda Tibbetts Lund Memorial Walk Run, October 13th at 7 Mile Public Beach.
As a Caymanian, it's very important to me that projects like this are thought of thoroughly before continuing.
My question is, do we need it? And I've not yet been fully convinced that we need it, nor have I been fully convinced that we don't need it. So
what guarantee do we have that these ships are going to continue to come?
Please make the right decision.
Please don't let the catchy songs overturn you. Please support the referendum. Please ensure that you are supporting sustainable tourism, not just money-making tourism.
If the project plans have changed, even though it might be insignificant on paper, it's going to be significant for the environment.
They need to release official information, official facts.
That's where I am right now. I want to know, I want more information on do we need it.
It's your vote, your future.
So make a decision based on fact.
You deserve the whole truth.
The Cayman Islands Seafarers Association wishes to remind all members that there will be a general meeting on Tuesday, October 15th at 7:30 p.m. in the Seafarers Hall, 11 Victory Avenue, Prospect. It is expected that all members come dressed in their CISA shirts. Transportation will be provided as follows. 3 buses will leave from the West Bay Town Hall at 6 p.m. The Barnes bus route in Georgetown leaves the public library parking area at 6:30, stopping at the Cayman Compass building and the airport Fosters. The bus marked Boba $1 public transport and is blue in color will do pickups from British Caymanian, Uncle Bill's, Walker's Road, Shedden Road, and Crew Road. In East End, the bus pickups are the primary school parking lot, the gas station, and wreck of the 10 sales starting at 5:45. In Northside, pickups are at the Chisholm store and the soccer field starting at 6:15. In Boddentown, pickups are at Lorna's gas station at 6:45, and in Savannah, pickups at the gas station next to Wendy's at 7 p.m. They look forward to seeing everyone on Tuesday, October 15th at 7:30 p.m. at the Seafarers Hall.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio, we have with us Mr. Eric Bush. Again, I just want to apologize to our listeners, those of you who may be having difficulties in terms of receiving Radio Cayman on your radios. It may be spotty, interrupted at times, just to let you know that we're working on that issue. But if you have the ability to switch over, download if you have a smartphone that you can download the Radio Cayman app, then you can listen there on there without any interruption. again, we're working hard to get that situation resolved. The conversation will continue with Chief Officer Mr. Eric Bush in the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Affairs. Mr. Bush, an article in one of our local online newspapers, Cayman News Service, and that one is headline, Ministry Boss Goes Back to Tory Conference. And I know that you mentioned the Tory Conference earlier, but I want to talk a little bit more, about, that Tory Conference. Mm-hmm. And again, to hammer home the importance of maintaining close communications with the relevant entities within the UK, not just the government entities, the various ministries within the UK government, but also outside of that, them as well.
And that really is the fundamental difference between visiting someone, an MP or a minister in Westminster, and visiting them at the party conference. When you're visiting a minister in particular in Westminster and Parliament is in session, you will always have civil service officials there and present. So the conversations will always have to be from their point of view, and this is what has been explained to me, have to be guarded and have to be, for the lack of a better term, restrained. So less fluid and less productive when you're just trying to have a conversation towards an end. Mm-hmm. When it's at the party conference, it is just that. It is the political party conference. So officials and civil servants are not able or not allowed, and it would be inappropriate for them to be there, because this is where they talk to their members or individuals who want to have an audience with them. So it's a lot easier to have a conversation with Secretary of State or even the Prime Minister in certain regards at the party conferences than it is whilst Parliament is in session. If we recall, in 2017, the Premier led a delegation when Boris Johnson was the Foreign Secretary, and the Premier had almost an hour-long sit-down meeting with the then Foreign Secretary, who is now Prime Minister. I would venture to say that we would have gotten a meeting, should we have asked for it, with the Foreign Secretary in Parliament, but that meeting would have been 10-15 minutes max, and it would not have had given the opportunity for the Premier and the Foreign Secretary at the time to actually talk. It would have been very structured, very rigid, and I get my point across, I understand, I receive your point, it's nice to meet you, and then that's it. Whereas the conversation can be had around this is why we're doing this, around our Constitution, this is why we're doing this, around this is why we feel aggrieved that Parliament chose to legislate directly for us, etc., etc. And there can actually be sharing of information, sharing of feelings, and the start of a relationship.
Okay, we're talking about the UK government's ability to legislate for the Cayman Islands. I think a few datelines are coming up now in relation to the finance bill,
yes,
and the attachment to that in relation to the Cayman Islands. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, in 2018, we had the what I consider the unfortunate issue whereby the current government was forced to accept an amendment to legislation which said that the Secretary of State,
the current UK government,
that's correct, would be forced to draft an order in council by the end of 2020. Should overseas territories, not crown dependencies, but just overseas territories, not initiate or create a public register of beneficial ownership. Now, this is something that the Premier, as far as I'm aware, has been clear on since 2013. And that is that once public registers of beneficial ownership becomes a global standard, then the Cayman Islands will be at the forefront of accepting and implementing that, as we do with all global regulations and best practices. The announcement that happened, I think, yesterday or today, I think it was made today, sorry, is that the Cayman Islands will accept public registers of beneficial ownership once the fifth directive of the anti-money laundering directive is initiated, which is understood that public registers of beneficial ownership will be a part of that cadre of improvements, as they call them. Then the Cayman Islands will be at the forefront, because in the government's and the private sector's point of view, that then will meet the definition or threshold of becoming a global standard. So this is the announcement today is just a continuation of government policy that was stated in 2013.
Precisely. Now, the whole issue of the United Kingdom and their ability to legislate for the Cayman Islands, in both the House of Lords and the House of Commons, we did see those members who understand the Cayman Islands, who understand the overseas territories, and who at times speak for the overseas territories, put up a very robust defense of the overseas territories, despite the fact that at the end of the day, they were not successful in thwarting these amendments. Yes, but again, it speaks to that relationship that we have developed with these parliamentarians. And so I'd like you to comment on that, and also to get your views on the idea that has been put out by some, including, I think, Andrew Rosendale may be a part of that as well, about the overseas territories having their own representation in the United Kingdom Parliament, yes, and mention some of the pros and cons towards that proposition.
Sure. The current constitutional relationship with all overseas territories, and arguably even the Crown dependencies, state that Parliament, the UK Parliament, is supreme. If they choose to legislate directly for the Cayman Islands specifically, or the overseas territories generally, they have the ability to do so. Do they have the right to do so? Well, that's where the argument comes in, because then you talk about responsibility and reasonableness and convention, etc. But they have the ability to do so. Let us just be absolutely clear about that. There is no budget within the UK other than the Minister for the Overseas Territories for any member of Parliament, member of the House of Lords, to travel to the Cayman Islands or to the overseas territories. There is no familiarity initiative, annual program that is organized for members of Parliament, members of the House of Lords to understand the overseas territories or the Crown dependencies. But yet they still have this ability to legislate directly for us. In my view, and in the government's view, that then becomes our responsibility as the Cayman Islands to try and educate them as best we can. This is why most of the overseas territories are all that can afford to have a government office in the UK have one, because they themselves recognize that it is their responsibility to represent their interests in the UK and to UK parliamentarians. But as I said before, another part of that representation is also inviting them to come to Cayman, inviting them and creating a meaningful program so they understand at the end of that 2 or 3 day visit that who we are as a people. And the goal behind all of that is, as you said, sir, when these issues arise, when people who have never been to the Cayman Islands, don't know anything about the Cayman Islands, only read what if you will, the left wing side of things, saying that we're the bane of all evil and have this magic money tree, etc. Sorry to say, but all this nonsense. When they themselves now are trying to form government policy and law that affect us and our people, have never been here, have no intentions of coming here, we need friends. We need individuals who are more open to come to the Cayman Islands and to learn. And there has been a criticism about the last 3 years that there have only been government members or members of the Tory party. That is not a result of us not inviting Labour members. That's a result of us inviting Labour members and their leadership saying, no, you can't go. The same Diane Abbott that you mentioned,
Yes,
she did accept an invitation, but 4 days prior to the actual trip, emailed to say, sorry, something has come up, I can't go again. So it's not a lack of effort, I can assure you and the listening public of that. And that's why I clearly state there is work to be done, and I'm confident that Andre and the team in the UK will continue to progress with that. But I say all that to say that it is necessary, and the reason it's necessary is because our constitutional relationship gives the UK Parliament supremacy over us.
Okay.
So it is our responsibility to ensure we educate them and expose them as much as we can to who we are and the truth about the Cayman Islands.
Okay, we're going to take another commercial break. When we return, we want to talk about UCODA, and also want to get your views on, since the UK can legislate for the overseas territories, since we are, those of us who have chosen to accept British citizenship, British citizens, the propriety or impropriety of us trying to influence UK elections, and when I say trying to influence them, either throwing our support behind the party that we believe may have the interest of the overseas territories at heart, as opposed to those who have adopted a hostile position towards the overseas territories. I'd like to discuss those two issues when we return from this commercial break.
Sure.
Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Congratulations, I hear the family is expanding.
Yes, our family is growing bigger, but I don't know how we're going to get around. Our old car just doesn't have enough room.
You should head over to Vamp Motors and ask about the Toyota Rush. It's a 7-seater SUV with lots of room and safety features, and it's on sale for just $21,900.
Rush in to Vamp Motors for the best deal of the year on the Toyota Rush SUV. Save up to $2,600 with Vamp cashback and the Toyota factory rebate going on right now. Fuel efficient, stylish, roomy, and loaded with safety features. The Rush is the perfect SUV for you and your family, starting from just $21,900. Visit Vamp Motors and drive your deal home today while stock lasts.
2019 marks 100 years of junior achievement worldwide. Junior achievement in Cayman is now 29 years old. To celebrate and support this milestone, help Junior Achievement Cayman to continue our work, guiding next generation Cayman to new horizons in life and business. Get your ticket and enter to win an exclusive trip, Namibia, known as a smile on the face of Africa, offering a unique blend of amazing desert scenes, exquisite wildlife, and fascinating tribal cultures.
Get an adventure of a lifetime while supporting Junior Achievement.
Purchase your ticket and stand a chance to win an exclusive all-inclusive 16-day tour to Namibia for 2 persons. Namibia can be reached from the Cayman Islands with Delta Airlines flights via Atlanta and Johannesburg. Experience the astounding and desolate dunescapes of South Namibia, the amazing endangered wildlife of the Etosha National Park. Purchase your ticket today. Junior Achievement, another Rotary Central inspiration project.
Get your Junior Achievement Namibia Safari tickets on eventpro.ky before the drawing on October the 26th.
The Pirates Week National Song Competition is back Saturday, November 9th. This exciting cultural event showcases the best talent in the Cayman Islands with $10,000 in cash to be won. If you've got the lyrical and vocal skills, visit piratesweekfestival.com to enter today. Entry deadline Friday, 18th October. The Pirates Week National Song Competition is sponsored by AI Rentals, Ace Hardware, the Ministry of Culture, the Tourism Attraction Board, and the Cayman Music and Entertainment Association. This ad is brought to you by Radio Cayman.
Always ensure that food preparation utensils are washed with a strong detergent and rinsed in hot water in the event that they have made contact with flood water. Boil silverware for 10 minutes and immerse glass, porcelain, china, and plastic items in a solution of hot water and 10% chlorine bleach before use. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, and we're tapping into his experience and expertise as being a former head of the Cayman Islands office in the UK, and also now the chief officer in the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Affairs, Mr. Eric Bush. And before we went to the commercial break, 2 things we wanted to talk about: UCOTA, and also the fact that we're seeing more and more, not only Caymanians, but in general, individuals from the overseas territories taking up residence in the UK, and if not already eligible to vote in the UK, will become eligible to vote in the UK, and how we in the overseas territories then may be able to have some influence on whether government that is pro overseas territories and promoting and seeing the success of the overseas territories, as opposed to a party that has taken a hostile approach to the overseas territories. So let's start with UCOTA first.
So yeah, UCOTA is an organization that is over 20 years old. The main focus of UCOTA is to create an organization that brings together all of the overseas territories in the UK. So all of the representatives have the ability to be a member of UCOTA and meet on a monthly basis, whereby issues that generally affect all overseas territories or specific overseas territories in a region. As an example, hurricanes in the overseas territories in the Caribbean. Climate change, of course, is something that affects us all. Brexit is, of course, something that affects us all in various degrees. But it's an organization that has been well served by all of the overseas territories and been quite useful, particularly when we can come together and agree on a particular matter and agree on a particular stance. Because if UCOTA writes to the Foreign Commonwealth Office as a collective, as one voice, that is received better, and it's harder to ignore, if I can put it, than if it is a singular overseas territory. I mean, I would never say that the FCO ignores any overseas territory, but when UCOTA writes as a collective, it is given that, because it is understood that this is an issue that is felt by all of the overseas territories, or is supported by all the overseas territories, because in an issue of hurricane response, as an example, or things that that, let's say, will affect Gibraltar, but all of the overseas territories can understand and want to throw their support behind Gibraltar in a particular area and Brexit, then UCOTA can write. So there's true tangible value in being a member of UCOTA, and it was certainly an honor for me to be the chairman of UCOTA during my short tenure, and of course, because of that, the Premier was the president of the political council.
Yes. Okay. The other issue in relation to overseas territories citizens who are also British citizens residing in the UK and their ability to vote.
Well,
I know that one's a little bit more political, but
it is. Well, I guess I'll answer it this way. That, I'm personally a strong proponent of democracy, and anytime there's an opportunity to vote, I think individuals should take a long, hard look at what the choices are, who the candidates are, what they are promising, and what they're where they see the particular country going. For Caymanians that are living in the UK and have the ability to vote, they need to understand what success looks like for them. If that means protecting Cayman in a current context, or if that means, well, I want better schools in Battersea where I'm living, or a balance of both, then they have the ability to question those candidates and see where they stand on the particular issue, and depending on the answer, vote their conscience.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the question of overseas territories having representation in the UK Parliament.
I don't see personally the benefit of it. The reason for that is you would have a representative, well, depending on how it was broken up, if it was a single representative in the House of Commons or the House of Lords for the overseas territories, I mean, we are simply too diverse a group. Whilst we're collectively only 270,000 people, it is far too diverse. Economies, societies, cultures. When we're talking about Pitcairn versus St. Helena to Falklands to Cayman to Montserrat to Gibraltar, and you're going to have one individual.
But if you had if each had the choice to have a representative, each individual overseas territory.
So then, just talking that through, you would have an individual who's responsible for representing you in Parliament, 4,500 miles away, being a single individual. So that would restrict Cayman's ability to talk to any other MP or any other member of the House of Lords, because they would always say, well, you have Jane or you have Bob. So that's not my wheelhouse. Right now we have the ability to talk to all of them. Whether they want to talk to us, that's a different matter. But having a single MP, and if he or she is on the Labour side or on the Tory side, then that restricts Cayman's representation. So as an example, let us say that it was a member that felt siding with the Labour Party was best for them. Perhaps not best for Cayman, but that was best for them, and they're elected. So that's what they're doing. That means now that they are aligned with a party that is looking to legislate directly for the Cayman Islands, that is continuously, publicly threatening the Cayman Islands and using the Cayman Islands as an example of all forms of negative things. Personally, I would advise against it, and the current government policy is that we do not support it.
Okay. We're going to take our last commercial break for the morning, folks. Please stay tuned. Conversation with Mr. Orrett Bush, the current Chief Officer in the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Affairs will continue shortly.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
2019 marks 100 years of junior achievement worldwide. Junior achievement in Cayman is now 29 years old. To celebrate and support this milestone, help Junior Achievement Cayman to continue our work guiding next generation Cayman to new horizons in life and business. Get your ticket and enter to win an exclusive trip Namibia, known as a smile on the face of Africa, offering a unique blend of amazing desert scenes, exquisite wildlife, and fascinating tribal cultures.
Get an adventure of a lifetime while supporting Junior Achievement.
Purchase your ticket and stand a chance to win an exclusive all-inclusive 16-day tour to Namibia for 2 persons. Namibia can be reached from the Cayman Islands with Delta Airlines flights via Atlanta and Johannesburg. Experience the astounding and desolate dunescapes of South Namibia, the amazing endangered wildlife of the Etosha National Park. Purchase your ticket today. Junior Achievement, another Rotary Central inspiration project.
Get your Junior Achievement Namibia Safari tickets on eventpro.ky before the drawing on October the 26th.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning with Mr. Orrett Bush, Chief Officer in the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Affairs. Before I throw the mic back over to Mr. Bush, we do have one caller, so let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, Mr. Orrett Bush, I have a question. What was your greatest concern about our relationship with the UK being a British overseas territory?
Well, thank you for that. I think if I can answer the caller in a broad way, sure. and then I'll specifically get to it. I think when our forefathers decided to stay British some 65 years ago, and we the vestrymen wrote to the UK Parliament and the Queen to state that regardless of Jamaica's decision to go independent, Cayman wanted to remain British, and regardless of Jamaica's decision, I think that choice has served the Cayman Islands very, very well. I think we have been able to grow and grow in a stable way. The fact now that UK politics, largely due to Brexit, is how do I want to explain? Toxic could be a word, or just unpredictable. The fact that the UK political system right now, due to Brexit, is going through a vast state of flux, coupled with the fact that Parliament does have the ability to legislate directly for us, and that's where we saw a clear example of that, whereby they're looking to force all overseas territories to implement public registers of beneficial ownership by the end of 2020. I would say my greatest fear is that we, the Cayman Islands specifically, and the overseas territories, don't do enough in representing ourselves in Parliament, in educating the parliamentarians of who we are and what the facts are about us, whether it be our financial services or our culture. That is the greatest fear, is that we don't do enough. I'm a firm believer in we can only control ourselves. So that's what I try to focus on, and that is my greatest fear. But to balance it off, the relationship with the UK is not bad at all. It's only improving. We saw Lord Ahmed come here in the summer to co-host a joint international trade summit where we hosted all of the overseas territories and the high-level members of the UK government. We have a Minister of State flying in today for a 4-day visit. It's not a 4-hour visit. It's a 4-day visit. I mean, that's quite substantial, and he is a senior member of the UK Parliament and the government. It's not all bad. We talking about Macy earlier, we had this this conflict. The UK had this conflict with Iran, whereby Iran was commandeering all ships within their perceived area that were British ships. So in this context, and this is what I would like us all to understand, a Cayman flag flying in the world is considered a British flag. So the British response to that was that the Royal Navy would escort all British ships, which includes the Cayman flagged ships, through that strait. So I think there are a lot of advantages, a lot of positives, and the relationship is fantastic. I also think that the governor, who is the Queen's representative, is doing a fantastic job at that too. We have certainly when I was in the UK, we had the same goal, and that is to create a stronger relationship between the UK government and the Cayman Islands, because I personally think if we do our part, we and our people will flourish.
Okay. Caller? Okay. So I would add to one question to your comments there, and the emphasis seems to be more on the policymakers, the parliamentarians in the UK. What about the British public in general? Many of them don't know about the Cayman Islands, don't know that we are part of the United Kingdom as sorts. How important it is to make them aware, because at times it is the British public. We see Extinction, the group Extinction in the UK now having a profound influence and effect.
Yes.
There. If the British public knew more about the overseas territories and the UK's responsibility for them, and sometimes how they act, with them, is that important as well?
Well, I think so. You're right, certainly about the Cayman Islands. I think the latest study that I saw showed it was only about 10 to 14% of the general public really knew anything about the Cayman Islands specifically. Now, if you were to ask them about Gibraltar, or if you were to ask them about the Falklands, they would know. And the Falklands and Gibraltar are within the hearts and minds of the British public. That is because the British government had to come to the rescue of both overseas territories, Gibraltar and Falklands respectively, from a greater power, Argentina for the Falklands, and of course Spain in Gibraltar. So the British government, the British public, feels very proud of that dominance that they were able to display over Spain.
Maybe also be some ancestral connections with those two jurisdictions as well, those two territories.
There are, but there are.
Can we say?
But there are with all of them, even the Crown dependencies as well. You know, very culturally linked, and of course Cayman. They tell us that Cayman was founded by two British sailors, Watler and Bodden. So, the cultural links, I think, are very similar in St. Helena with Captain Cook. But it's really in the last 50 years whereby they have had to protect these two overseas territories. I certainly have seen that their representation is easier to present to the British public and to Parliament, because there is that inherent, well, yes, we have protected you, so therefore we need to protect you even politically. But the Cayman Islands, of course, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We haven't had that, and we don't want to have we don't want to have that. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword in that a large portion of the UK government, or the UK public, does not know about the Cayman Islands. The fact is, we are autonomous. We are self-governing. The only two retained competencies that the UK government feels the need to have is around internal security and defence. How much resources and how much effort should we put in? I guess the question needs to be about letting the British public know who we are, and how effective can we be in doing that. And what I would say, it should form a bigger strategy of how much should we let the world know who we are. And of course the UK is a big part of that. But rather than just focus on the UK when we're talking about the general public, my advice would be around, let us focus on the world.
Okay. Very quickly, the deselection process in the United Kingdom. I know you got a little familiarity with politics in the UK, and there's a story that centers around Margaret Hodge, a Labour MP who was one of the architects of the amendment to the finance bill in relation to the beneficial ownership issue, and it seems as if she will go through, or has gone through, a deselection process.
Yes.
In the UK.
Yeah, I just think that that whole circumstance shows the toxicity of the current political environment in the UK. So Margaret Hodge is a Labour Party member. She's been a long-standing member of the Labour Party, and she was one of the architects of the amendment that looked to legislate directly for us. So personally, there's no love lost there in that regard. But that being said, what is happening and what has happened to her, and for the reasons it is purported to have happened to her, is
misogyny and anti-Jewish
anti-Semitism. And Margaret Hodge is a strong proponent of equal rights and of the issues within the Labour Party around anti-Semitism and the lack of attention and appropriate action being taken of the reports of anti-Semitic behavior. And it would appear that from her representation and criticism of the party and the party's organization, they have organized for her to be deselected from her seat as the Labour Party member. Now, within the UK and the constituencies of the UK, because the party system is so entrenched, it really doesn't matter who the individual is that's running. It matters which party.
Yes, yeah.
So it would be seen that if she is deselected, the strategy would be that there would be another member who runs for the Labour Party.
Mm-hmm.
And that they would get in.
And if it's a strong Labour, if it's a Labour stronghold, yes.
Right, and that's how it's seen. But from my intelligence is that whilst they have met the, I think it's the 30% threshold of the deselection process starting, she will retain her seat as the Labour Party conference. But or Labour Party, sorry. I just think that's another issue or episode that shows just how volatile and toxic the whole political system is.
Okay, sir. Final comments from you?
Just an absolute pleasure to come on and talk to you, Mr. Connor. It's always a pleasure, but also as a public servant, I think it's my responsibility and our responsibility to let the listening public know what's going on and our experiences, and of course be open to questions.
Okay, I want to thank you for being here as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want, or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.